In Sant'Agata Bolognese, the pressure is mounting as Lamborghini attempts to replace their best-selling machine. The key to their success comes down to a very earthly material: carbon. A basic element finding new life inside of the state-of-the-art Lamborghini carbon fiber facility.
A couple decades ago, Lamborghini decided to look into carbon fiber. A lot of car companies looked at it, decided it was too expensive, and moved on.
We have an expertise of more than 30 years in the research and development of carbon fiber material.
Lamborghini kept with it. They kept researching it, and today they're on the leading edge of carbon fiber technology.
Like an Italian model, the brand is obsessed with weight and weight reduction.
The cars are getting heavier and heavier over the decades due to different reasons: safety, active and passive safety, comfort, all these things.
Weight is a supercar's enemy because it reduces speed.
Weight to power ratio is a really key factor and success for the future. And weight reduction is more important of horsepower increase. If you reduce weight from the car, you will perceive in every single moment, when you accelerate the car, when you brake the car, when you go in a tight cornering, and you really perceive the handling behavior of the car.
The key word for us is mainly carbon fiber, which is a very light and stiff material.
They're building most of the car out of it at this point, and they're exploring ways to use carbon to create structures that are light and stiff.
That exploration results in a brand new chassis that's 10% lighter than the Gallardo's, but 50% stiffer.
In a company like Lamborghini, we can really also experiment new material because we can offer something special. To give an example, a kind of composite material that we call forged composite, and this kind of fiber is exactly what is used also in the golf club of Callaway.
A supercar sharing carbon technology from a golf club sounds surprising. It shouldn't be, thanks to a very unique agreement between three very diverse organizations.
It's not unusual for car companies to look out to other industries to see where they can find new materials or new processes, but Lamborghini has been so focused on carbon fiber, they've really reached out to places you wouldn't expect: Boeing, and the University of Washington, and Callaway golf clubs. The weight can affect everything. It affects your swing, it affects how fast your car can accelerate.
The Lambo's strategy for speed comes into focus on the new Huracán. The machine features a hybrid carbon fiber and aluminium chassis, with the front and rear sections made entirely from lightweight alloys, while the occupant safety cell is completely made from carbon fiber. The entire hybrid chassis weighs just 200 kilograms.
The challenge is the joint between carbon fiber and aluminium, in which they has to be designed to resist all the stress we have in the car during the use of the car.
Unlike most car factories, at Lamborghini, they install the interior before the drivetrain. They install the carpet, the center console, and the dashboard.
The gauges in front of you are not gauges, it's an LCD screen. You have one big screen in front of you that does everything. You can configure it to have a big tachometer or a big speedometer. It's very driver-focused.
While mechanics continue to assemble the new Huracán, in another part of the factory, artisans handcraft Lamborghini interior pieces. Just 50 meters from the Huracán line, hides of leather are lined up. The hides arrive at the factory already treated and colored. The range of color options is only limited by imagination. Master leatherworkers inspect each hide for imperfections. A computer-controlled cutting machine optimizes the number of panels cut from the material, before craftsmen mold and secure the leather to the trim panels. Then they stitch them together one by one. Choose the upgraded interior package, and each artisan will use 30 meters worth of thread. Finally, finished leather pieces head to the line. Station 11 is perhaps the most famous location in the factory, where the Lamborghini V10 is prepped for installation.
Here we are in one of the most important stations of the line, in which we are assemble the engine, so 610 horsepower, with the gearbox.
Lamborghini tradition is a naturally aspirated engine, which has an outstanding torque already at very low revs.
The weight of that tradition rests on the shoulders of Stefan Mazzetti.
Here in Lamborghini, we have the responsibilities of the powertrain, so it means mainly transmission and engines.
Making it work together means creating a one-of-a-kind V10 engine called the LP610-4.
The V10, it is really compact engine, but with a really very high displacement, 5.2 liters. It's naturally aspirated, so very emotional engine. It is really a unique piece of engine art.
Italian high-performance art that's sub-assembled on a jig next to the main line.
Basically, we assemble the heart of the car inside the body.
They install the engine to the LDF, or Lamborghini Doppia Frizione, 7-speed transmission.
It's a super sport double clutch. The gearbox is really compact because we wanted to make it really shorter.
A double-clutch transmission is essentially two traditional clutches in the same case. One stack contains first, third, fifth, and seventh gears. The other holds second, fourth, and sixth. When a driver accelerates in one gear, the other stack engages the next gear in preparation. Shifting gears takes just a few hundredths of a second. Installing the transmission to the engine takes only a few moments longer.
This gearbox and engine then is going to the car in the so-called marriage station.
The marriage looks almost effortless, but installation has to be highly accurate.
And we have to be really precise, because if you can see the car and the space between the chassis and the engine, that is really narrow. We are talking about even less than millimeter. So our work has to be precise to avoid any collision.
The tight margin for error is all due to the distinctive mid-engine design layout.
This is a unique challenge for Lamborghini, to put the engine on the back.
They install the oil tank, the airbox, and the drive shaft. To move the machines around, Lamborghini employs a variety of carrier systems.
When the car is just a body, we have basically a carrier system which is taking the car from the bottom. And then the worker, if needs to have the car higher or lower, can adjust the position of the car. Then when the line is turning to the second part, we have this kind of carrier which is taking the car from a hook, because we need also to work on the bottom of the car.
The first stop after a new Huracán is picked up by the massive hook is Station 12, where the carbon ceramic disc brakes are installed.
Our car is so powerful and the speed is so high that we need something to brake the car in a really short distance. The pre-assembly area, in which we are starting from the single components. With the help of this automatic tool, we assemble all the parts to create this brake system.
It takes 22 minutes to build each carbon ceramic brake subassembly. Collectively, they can bring the machine from 112 kilometers per hour to a dead stop in just 43.8 meters. That's 2 times the length of a cricket pitch. The factory is built on a lean manufacturing principle.
What we are trying to do here when we were designing the line is to apply what we call the lean manufacturing principle.
It sounds modern, but it's not. The idea owes its genesis to an automotive concept that's over 100 years old.
We try to design a line really compact with all the pre-assembly area on the line, on the side of the line, in a really short distance.
In 1913, Henry Ford radically changes the automotive world forever with the introduction of the moving mass assembly line. The system is a revelation, and it radically cuts down the time it takes to build a machine. But more importantly, it cuts down on wasted motion near the line. By the 1990s, the German auto industry, including Audi, Lamborghini's parent company, takes the process to the next level. They realize that it's not just about cutting down the time it takes to build a machine, but the number of parts at the factory. The less parts weight, the less inventory on hand, the fewer mistakes that can be made, the faster you can build a product. The result is lean manufacturing.
The pre-assembly is here and the assembly point is there. For the engine is the same, for the dashboard is the same. This is something that we try to apply in all our production.
While the theory of lean manufacturing isn't new, Lamborghini's use of it is rather cutting edge.
This philosophy is not new, but it's new in the way in which we are applying, because we have only men. We have people which are assemble the Lamborghini. So the challenge for us was to convert this kind of principle born for our huge and big manufacturers to our craftsmanship activity.
The lean manufacturing philosophy is an old idea, but it's managed by a modern technology.
This is a touch screen. Every station is at least one, some station even 2.
The touch screens keep the factory constantly updated on the progress of each machine.
If the worker needs to understand how to assemble something, he can go inside here, he go in a server, and he's written all the cycle plan on the car.
After brake install, they connect the Huracan's power to the machine's four-wheel drive system.
Four-wheel drive is now a Lamborghini hallmark. Once you get to this level of power, it just becomes easier to put it to all 4 wheels.
Using a very special torque converter, the device controls how much of the engine's power is sent to the front wheels.
The challenge is to bring the right power in the front. We choose electronic controlled torque distributor because in this way we can choose in real time the exact amount of torque we want to have in the front and of course in the rear of the car.
The electronic torque converter senses traction loss in mere milliseconds.
There are a lot of ECUs, a lot of power calculation. And these ECUs, these control units, are learning every time what happens for driver behavior, and they are checking also the ground situation, if there is a slipping, if there is ice, if there is rain, and so on. And so they are able to react in very few milliseconds.
Under normal driving conditions, the system diverts 30% of the engine torque to the front wheels. However, if the machine loses traction at the back, 50% of the torque is immediately sent to the front.
If for some reason one wheel or one axle is splitting, you can transfer immediately some torque in the other axle and to avoid maybe oversteering or an understeering.
At high speed, the system alters once again, no longer sending power forward. Instead, the Huracán uses all 100% of the torque at the rear axle.
The power calculation inside the car is something that it is tremendous. The benefit is that you can have a continuous changing in the torque applied to the ground.
Finally, after almost 2 days of hand assembly, a new Lamborghini Huracán is ready for final inspection.
Here You see all the lines and all the edge. We have to respect it to have the maximum precision. We are talking about less than a millimeter in order to see that the line which is starting here is following there on the front hood without any disruption. This is our big challenge when you see all this edgy design, which is fantastic.
It's taken 1,460 days to handcraft that dream. A machine destined to replace an aging legend in the pantheon of Italian supercars.